Brad Yasar of the Yasar Corporation sold his first company when he was 15 years old and is one of the top angel investors in California. Needless to say, he's been an entrepreneur his whole career. Today he's going to tell us his story as an entrepreneur and the important things he's learned throughout his life. Welcome to Biz 101, Brad.
Thank you for having me, Randy.
It's so great to have you here. And how could we not start with selling your first business at 15?
Well, that wasn't by design. I just, I guess, happened to be lucky with a good idea. And I started writing code at a very early age. And never.
What do you mean an early age? Like you started writing code at how old?
I want to say 9 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, that's when I started actually putting meaningful software together, not just learning and playing around with it. But that point on, it was never a commercial pursuit for me. It was more, hey, computers are exciting. I want to learn more about it. Let me figure out what kind of trouble I can get in with this device. And started experimenting, writing code. And one day I was looking at a software shop and seeing a computer sitting next to a cash register. And I just went and asked them, I said, hey, if the computer could do what your cash register does, would you be interested in buying that software? Because to me, it was a logical marriage of the two devices. And they loved it. They loved it in the old days of dot matrix printers and early personal computers. So that was the commercial software I started with. That took me from 9, 10 years all the way to 15 years old when it took a life of its own. And there was so much time required to keep the software updated and run the business. I mean, don't get me wrong, I wasn't even of age to sign contracts, so I had help, but it was still most of the development was done by me.
Now, it's very rare. We've had a lot of entrepreneurs in that chair. It's very rare to talk to someone who actually started a business at age 9. Now that's not so rare. You know, I'm going to go mow the neighbor's lawn, I'll make some money. But a software company at age 9 and you exit at age 15, I got to hear a little bit more about the detail about that.
Well, again, I was doing the right thing at the right place and had to make a decision at 15. Do I focus on school? I was high achiever academically. I didn't want to let go of that. And as far as the business goes, what do I do there? Because it was growing. So
growing. Did you have like other people working in the company?
Yeah. At one time, we had 6 people working full time. For the business.
Were you like the CEO of the company, like you were 14, 15?
I did not even have an official title because I couldn't. I was the person behind the curtains doing all the development and building the relationship with potential clients or distributors because I spoke their language. They really liked having a young kid come in and say, hey, I can make you money, and all ears perked up. And as far as the CEO, it was a friend of mine who could sign documents, and
Wow.
my dad was involved too.
So we're sitting in Canada, you live in California now. This was in Turkey, right?
That is correct. Ankara, Turkey.
And were you doing international business or just in the local area there?
That business in and itself was local because the software, it was specific to Turkish language and the regulations there. It wasn't globally distributed. Now, I did do some import-export of software because at that time, this was before the BBSs and the internet and all of the technology we came accustomed to take for granted lately. And you had to physically ship floppy disks.
Right.
So I did import software for personal use as well as distribution, but that was separate.
So this is roughly, say, 25 years ago, not to divulge your age.
That's perfectly fine.
But it's right in that range. So you sold your first company at 16. How did that feel? Like, did the newspapers write a story about it? Was there any hoopla about it?
No, there were no newspaper stories. I didn't want to be on newspaper. My parents wanted that even less. So it was just great to then just focus on high school and successfully complete that stage of my life, and then go to get a couple bachelor degrees and continue higher education, because even at that time, having seen that success, I didn't know what I wanted to do. It was a hobby. It still is. Technology just makes me happy, and I'm curious about it. I never thought of starting a software company as a financial motive.
Wow. So obviously you had it built in. Maybe you weren't a built-in entrepreneur. I don't know. Maybe you just had a hobby you enjoyed, and it was a business. What do you say about that?
Well, you know what they say: if you love something and you are able to make money from it, you don't work a day in your life. And this was one of those scenarios. I've always been an entrepreneur. Even before software, I always liked trading. I always liked making money, buying and selling things. Of course, that grew in scope and nature as I got older. But there was always that interest. So I would say not a born, but pretty close. I was an entrepreneur from an early age.
So when you look back on it now, and there probably there are lots of people out there, especially in this day and age when teenagers, even pre-teens, are getting so much information via the internet. They're so much more advanced than certainly I was then. Maybe you're the exception. So there are, young, really young entrepreneurs. Do you still recommend that they go to school?
That's a tough question. I think it's an individual choice. School was mostly about learning new things, discovering things that I do like and don't like, and meeting new people for me. As far as the information flow, today you can get any knowledge you want on the internet at any age. Mm-hmm. My 4-year-old son, if he wants to learn something, he doesn't know how to read and write fully yet. And he can use Google search with voice, find the manual or the walkthrough, and learn whatever he's looking for.
And he does.
And he does. So yes, I want to say if my example is something that is a successful progression in life, then definitely go to school and find what you like and you don't like. It may be as simple as, I want to develop apps, I want to write code, let me try computer science. I don't like computer science, maybe I should study psychology or liberal arts, but still find a way to incorporate technology into what I'm passionate about. So I'd say, just try it out. But if it's just to get pure knowledge, I think the traditional schooling system is becoming more and more obsolete.
It's interesting. I wonder, with all the voice technology and everything being available, like a 15-year-old boy, if you say, how does something work, he doesn't Google it, he goes to YouTube. He's going to watch a video about it. I wonder whether we're even going to need to be able to read and write.
Yeah, I mean, when I was in college, I don't know how it was in your time, but when I was in college, it was cheating if you had a computer in class.
Wow.
If you had a calculator in class, in certain math classes, it was considered cheating. Now you can't even think of a class you're taking without any technology embedded in it. So probably you're right. Maybe soon reading and writing is going to be optional.
Certainly handwriting.
That's already obsolete. Yeah. I don't think the millennials and Gen Z wrote enough to have elaborate calligraphy and handwriting. But it's really funny. I saw a social media post on my way here, actually, and it said, in 4,000 years we have come full cycle, and the top image is hieroglyphs from ancient Egypt, and the bottom image is smiley faces.
exactly.
Emojis. It's
Yeah.
a set of emojis, set of hieroglyphics, and there you have it, full cycle.
So Brad, you were obviously a brilliant kid, and you built a software package that really revolutionized an industry. You sold the company. What are some of the highlights of since then for you as an entrepreneur? We're going to have you back on the show to talk about being an angel investor, but let's talk about where you went with your entrepreneurial path.
Well, I think the highlights have been after higher education, I tried my chops at doing some e-commerce implementation, and that failed miserably. That was my lesson to pivot, and pivot quick and find something that the market is responding to. So that turned into a big data company that was also acquired by our first customer, which was a very interesting experience because big data by then was in its infancy compared to the machine learning and the regressions and the AI you can apply onto the data sets and the size of the data sets we have right now. There was no social media, public information available about everyone. So that was a highlight. And then I had a consulting business for over a decade. Again, my quest for trying to figure out what I want to do with my life and what really excites me, and that changes as we all progress in life, has never ended. So I had a successful consulting business after that, learned how to do sales, learned a bunch of industries that I had no connection before.
Tell me the quick sales story, because you shared this with me before. So you're this brilliant genius guy that's
You're too
inventing
kind.
stuff, but you're not a sales guy.
Yes, exactly. I realized after my second venture that things were given to me. I didn't feel like I made a sale, I pitched to an investor and got an investment, and I really wanted to learn that because I know you can have brilliant ideas, you can develop amazing technologies. If you don't know how to sell it, well, who's going to know about it? It's as simple as that. So after my second company, I took an inside sales job at a call center, and it was smile and dial.
So hold on, 2 successful exits. We're talking about millions of dollars.
It was okay, yes. Yes.
and you go take like a basic junior level call center.
Minimum wage call center job, because
Wow.
I knew if I could learn how to do that successfully, I can then develop my corporate sales skills and investor pitches and everything. All the tools as a business person I'm going to need to approach a stranger and at least get their attention. So did that for a little bit. When I started, there was this one gentleman. He was beating everyone by a long measure, and everyone looked up to him. And I got in. I said, if he can do it, I can do it. And that's how I do things in life. When I see someone being extremely good at something, extremely successful, I tell myself, if someone else, another human being can do this, I can do it. And it's a lot of hard work. When I started doing sales, I worked 16-hour days, made hundreds of calls, heard every single rejection you can imagine, and then some others that you wouldn't. And it made me a better person, a better business person, a better entrepreneur, because then I knew, okay, if I bring this product to life, this is what I'm going to deal with, and this is how I can overcome it.
Well, Brad Yasar, you're an inspiration to not only the code writers and the software engineers, but also to the salespeople. And we so much appreciate you coming up to Canada to do Biz 101. And we're definitely going to have you back. And Brad will be joining us on a future show, and we're going to learn all about your next career as an angel investor. Brad, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.